Right then, JBL Quantum Cup, 100 Thieves Envious, 13-0. Let's talk about it. And if you're not familiar with the NA region, I know most of the people who watch me or read my content are from EU. This is significant. 100 Thieves obviously were the favourites coming in on the basis of they just won first strike. But Envious were and are a consensus top 5 team in that region. And for a lot of people, they were the dark horses to actually win first strike. They didn't do it, but that's the kind of calibre, that's kind of level they're being held in, right? And when we see two top teams play, at this point you don't really expect anything less than a 13-7, right, almost. You don't expect this sort of one-sided just no matter what. So let's see how it happened. And for a little bit of warning, I suppose, going into the thing, this is going to be about Envious far more than 100 Thieves. 100 Thieves obviously played extremely well, but it's how the saying goes, right? For every great play, there had to be a small mistake, right? For every 13-0, there had to be a hell of a lot of small mistakes. And that's, I think, going through the game as well, that is the more interesting part of it. Like, how did Envious get to this? So, right, so compositionally wise, 100 Thieves on the left here, Envious on the right. This isn't what we saw at First Strike NA. So the First Strike NA comps were generally something like you'd run all three of Omen, Jet, Raze, and then you'd have Sova and Cypher because they're the best in terms of information on the last 2 points. Neither team's doing that exactly here. Envious is sticking closer to it with regards to essentially their comp is they've taken out the Jet and they've replaced it with Phoenix. So it'll be the same tenor of things with regards to you have to attack when you want to attack things quickly. You have strong enough presence on the flanks between Cypher, Phoenix, Omen, all able to sit out there on the two longs. You have good tools for getting in. You don't have a Jet, which not having Jet will slow down a lot of your more aggressive attacks in that regard, because Omen's mobility tools, you can't really have an Omen just rush onto a site, right? You can with Raze, but I mean, let's put it this way, I haven't seen all Raze players really use her well in that regard. There's some in Europe who do so. A lot of Raze players prefer to sit back, prefer to not be the first one in. That's a mistake in a sense, but she has the tools to be that sort of entry, but she isn't necessarily played as such. So we'll see. On the 100 Thieves side, this is more of a European style comp, right? On Bind, because of the 7 matches, Bind was played 7 times in playoffs in Europe. 29% of those compositions had a Jet in them, so that would be 4 out of 14, I believe. So Europe has already kind of moved on from that. There was some Killjoy use, and not by no means always using Killjoy, but there was some Killjoy use on that map. There was some Breach use. There was a lot of Viper use in Europe in particular, which NA hasn't really caught on to for the most part. But this is more, I would say, a European style comp, right? It's slow. It has entry tools still with regards to what you can do with the Raze and the Omen, but it's more slanted towards the slower side of things. It's more slanted towards the, okay, well, what are we going to do post-plant? What are we going to do immediately, like pre-plant? That's kind of where it's focused, right? And it's also focused more on the defensive side of things, and 100 Thieves are starting on the defensive side here. Yeah, I mean, if you want to think about it in functional terms, Killjoy and Cypher do very similar things in terms of the positions they take up on the map. So really the differentiator here is Sage versus Phoenix. Yeah, I mean, this is something where the team starting out on defense, I feel, has a slight advantage, but both teams are really going for it. Like, both teams should be stronger weighted stronger in that first period of the game, because I should point out here, 100 Thieves starting on defense, Envious starting on attack. So, okay, let's see what happens. Alright, so pretty clear what Envious are going to do here. They're going to rush 4 up long, probably rotate to A if they get a chance to, or if they don't get a chance to get straight onto site. Cypher's covering here very cheaply. That's fine. What's a little bit concerning is, if you go back 1 second, of the 4 rushing up this ramp, 3 of them have ghosts. And here's the thing about the Ghost. The Ghost isn't entirely the case that the Ghost is useless by any means. But the thing you have to understand about the Ghost is we've kind of figured out at this point the Classic is strong enough with regards to just the right click being a one-shot kill on no armor, probably a one-shot kill most of the time on light armor. At close range, obviously. The Classic is strong enough that you have a problem because Ghost beats other Ghost. It does 100 on a headshot, fine. If you have no armor, which you have no armor if you bought Ghost. If you have no armor, you lose that fight, sure. The problem is, if they have armor, and Classic, you're not paying anything, so you can shell out 400 for the light shields, you don't win that fight. So if you can still use Ghost, sure. But if you're using Ghost, you generally want to respect that distance, right? You want to be in a situation where you're not being threatened with a close range thing. And obviously, neither team has Jet here, so that helps a little bit in that regard. With regards to the mobility tools aren't as quite as good as they could be, but Razor's Omen, that's still a huge thing. And particularly for the attacking team, going up here, that's a huge problem. You've got to see what happens here. So, Steel on Killjoy, using the Classic. They rush up here. Rush. Boombot goes down. Still gets a kill with the Classic, kill with the Boombot. They've kind of already lost the run at this point. They can't get control of that. They can't do the play going round to A. Yeah. So they've basically just lost 5v3. So I would say that's not an auspicious start, to be honest. So on to round 2, and what the hell is this? So they've bought Stinger, 2 Frenzies, 2 Deagles, 2 Sheriffs. Full set of heavy shields, most likely full set of abilities. They've tapped themselves out completely here on this round. And this is awful. This is genuinely just awful. And I'll explain why. I'll let the round play. So you can see by the way that we're kind of going for defaults here, which is a little interesting given that with those buys, the last thing you want to do, I think, is do defaults. But in terms of why this is bad, so you're committing here to not just doing economic damage, you're committing here to winning the round, right? If you're spending every single penny you've got. And I won't give you the full history of like the force buy, but essentially there was a point where you always wanted to force from round 2. In the summer, the operator nerfs kind of made that a little bit more questionable. Pause here actually, but it's still, you still want to be forcing a lot of the time. I kind of feel like, which is how the economy works, because you essentially, the short version is if you eco here and you spent up massively on the first round, you have 4,300 per person. That gets you Phantom, heavy shields, abilities. You should be able to get a full buy under your belt then, but it's not always 100% the case, right? So I understand full buy still. The problem here isn't, look at the map here. So look at the map here. So Raisin's Sage were here. Sova was always hanging around this corridor. Omen's in apartments. Killjoy's pushed up in baths. The problem here is that the essential, if you're making an an anti-eco play, and the intention here is to win the round, which it has to be if you're spending that money on it, rather than just doing economic damage, you want to put yourself in a position where you're favourable on the retake. Now the problem is, to put yourself in a position where you're favourable on the retake, you need to grab guns off the other team. And you can kind of feel like there's kind of a bit of understanding here with regards to what they've done with regards to taking 2 frenzies, blah blah. But there is no incentive for the enemy team to space out in this situation, to space out in such a way that you're going to be able to get more than maybe 1 gun off of this, right? If you can circle and kill and get that Killjoy down in baths, then sure, that maybe that 1 gun. You're not catching Omen, you're not catching the other 3 on the site. If you attack B site, you can maybe get. I don't think you get really anything actually in the interior, because the interior position, you are never safe in there as the attacking team unless you take the site, in my opinion. You can maybe do something off long, sure. But you're getting one gun and you're going in 5v4 on a retake with incredibly inferior weapons. So I think just the thought process here just isn't working. Particularly because, and with that frenzy thing, it's going to have to go in through the interior, right? Realistically, if you're buying double frenzy, you're going through the interior. So they know. And they actually do quite a decent job of executing this. And they make it a 3v3, but they're never going to win this because I believe it's 2 Stings still alive on the enemy team. Versus, I think, 1 Stinger and a load of pistols. Yep, dead. Envy's apparently got the Ares back. Yeah, this is too easy. Even with the best execution that you could probably hope for on that sort of play, they still lose it. Round 3 is more simple. That's the replay. They're forced onto an eco here. They generally respect the eco a bit more this time. They still go for the frenzy, which I don't like. These things add up, right? But they're never going to win, so that's fine. And they put themselves into a position round 4 where they have enough money. Round 5. So obviously they're not the best situation economically, but they've got their buy now. They've got a full buy, full abilities. I find it interesting that Mummy doesn't go for an operator here. You know that 100 Thieves are going to be playing way back for the most part, so you can probably guess they're going to have an operator on their side. So you're going to find someone where you can't match, which is always not nice. And if you look at the money, he has the money for it, right? If they lose this, they're ecoing at least one. If they lose this, they're ecoing at least 1 round, right? So I kind of feel like you just go for it. You have your economics in sync here, right? It's not with how it doesn't really make sense to try and keep yourself out of the fire in that sense, but okay, whatever. So they've got 5 rifles. How are you going to play this out? Well, you can see the lineup here, right? And what are you doing here, frankly? So you have 3 agents here that do well on the flanks, or can do well on the flanks at least. Omen, Cypher, and Phoenix, I guess. You can argue between Phoenix and Cypher, right? But it's not like you've got a comp where you have to rush the middle every single time. You're on equal resources with the other team. Obviously, if you lose this, they will be in a massively better economic situation, sure. But you're basically you're coming in with very similar loadouts. You don't have an op, fine. You chose not to have an op. You have similar loadouts. You have, in terms of ults, both Omen ults are up, fine. Both Silver ults are about to be up, fine. Ray's ult is up, okay. You have the resources here to probe out you have Sova, you have Cypher. You can bait out the ult if it's going to come from the sides, and if it comes from the middle, then you might just die, right? If you rush middle. So you want to play slow. And they do not play slow. So this is the thing. They don't go apartments. So they hear the TP. You don't know why you wouldn't go apartments when you hear the TP, but they go around, raise Omen. They're going to push. They're going to push up through here. The apartment's essentially a fucking distraction of Slash trying to get TP back. What is the upside here? Genuine, what is the upside here? So this area of bind, you don't want to be in this area as the attacking team unless you can go straight through to here, because with the way the sight lines work here, it's not that it's indefensible, but you're so easily trapped. And you've brought the spike with you, so obviously you're thinking I'm going to run straight through here, but there's only 2 of you. So I don't understand, like, what you're going to get the sight of 2 people and try and establish with 2 people, while Cypher is all the way out of the game. He's never getting over to B site in a million years at this point. Yeah, Cypher can take the TP, but this is like solo queue stuff. and I mean, Cypher makes it onto site on the other side. Sova's all the way back here. Sova's not going to push through, right? I mean, Sova probably should just go TP, to be fair, but this round is a travesty. Like, yeesh. So yeah, obviously I don't even need to show the end of this. They lose this very heavily. FNS tries his best, but what's he going to do? Okay, so once again, Eco. Once again, going for that setup. Well, they don't even stinging this time, so it's just pistols. And actually, they get a good opening on the apartments, but so this isn't bad. But yes, I guess I'll be fair to them. This was probably maybe the second best round they played all game. You kind of get pressed in the end with regards to you're still going with inferior weapons, and you end up losing a fight. This is fine. You're establishing heavy through middle, fine. The problem this round has is this kind of ends up breaking them later on, and you kind of see, like, in terms of how they approach the rest of this. Okay, round 5. So again, you're back into your setup. You went for an op this time, which fair enough. I think you should have done that earlier, but okay, whatever. AWP is a go. Rest of your kit is a go. Great. What are you doing? What are you doing? You have the tool, like this. I know it worked last round, but this round you have the tools to play a slower game. You have the tools to just tease things out. See if you know they have an AWP at this point. You potentially can sort of test things out with regards to find out where the AWP is. If they try and pick they try and pick without an AWP into your AWP, you can take them down. You can play a slow game. You can play an information game here, right? And you've got 5 stacks on the same side. Like, dude, come. You've even got Phoenix Ults overall. So you can break through very, very quickly onto a site when you need to break onto a site. Like when you know you have the numbers advantage and you're not just going to lose when Phoenix teleports back. What are you doing? And you're gonna kind of see what happens here, right? So they rush it. 3 long, 2 short. Oh, Omen has ult here, I should point out as well. But here's a big, like, they hesitate a little bit, just enough. Killjoy slows them down just enough. Again, Steel has an excellent game here. Steel actually understands this agent, which is very lovely to see because nobody else in A seems to understand it. But look. You're 25 seconds into your attack and your furthest guy forward and the elbow is here. It's so easy for the enemy team just retreat to elbow. Because you can't peek around here now, right? And I don't know why you're using ult in this particular spot, but you can't peek around here. And if you want to make this retake proof, which you surely have to if you're going to go this hard, you've got to have control over that. Like if you want to go in, basically say, okay, we'll take you 5v3, and we'll make sure the other 2 can't retake. Or if one of you backs off, you can't retake. You have to have control over here immediately, and they don't. And you have Omen ult, so you could easily do something here, wherever. You could do something to essentially cut off their line here. I think in the end they actually rotate around here. But you have no safe. Like, I think they just lose straight up, but you have no safety here. Like even if this went well, you would not have the safety of great. We're going to be able to resist retakes. So the entire plan doesn't make sense, and you had the tools to do so. You had Omen ult, so that's really questionable. And we'll go straight into this. So next you have round 7. You're down 6 rounds on bind. You never make a dent in the economy at this point. What they do here is they eco, and that's interesting. I don't actually think it's too bad. So essentially the way to understand it is you're getting 2,900 per loss at this point, plus a bit of plant money. Phantom or Vandal heavy shields cost you 3,900. So essentially every time you make a buy and you lose a round at this point when you're this deep, you're basically running a deficit of like 1,000 whatever units it is, $1,000, plus your ability money, which is like 500-ish, let's say. So, while my impulse here is, surely you've got to contest this, right? Surely you've still got to be able to fighting for this. To be fair, an eco here, I believe, because you'll be ending up on, the lowest paid member will be ending up on 6,400 afterwards, and you have 5 rounds left. So you do guarantee you will have rifles for all of the last 5 rounds. Which, against a team with superior, I'll give you credit there. It kind of goes against the grain, but I think that probably was a fairly smart choice. You can consider that they first think we're going to opt into it, and then they think, well, hold on, we've got 3 guys below 3,900 anyway, I guess. I don't know if they were thinking it through as much as I give them credit for here. But you'll see, yeah, they're kind of arguing whether they want to do this or not, and they end up going for the econ. And again, I think you're making a mistake. You're spending too much on these eco strats. The thing is, they go for 4 deagles here in a frenzy, and they do play a default. This makes the most sense, really, of anything they've done so far, arguably. The problem is you're still not going to be able to get a weapon off of here, right? Like, if you get a kill off of this sort of default setup, you're not getting a weapon. So it's kind of topsy-turvy. They go super aggro in rounds where they've got rifles. They go super conservative in rounds where they've just got deagles or frenzies. Well, more so the frenzies is weird, but whatever. They end up making despite them making a fairly quick play onto apartments. They don't win, I don't think, but okay. This one. Bit round 8, you have actual guns now here. What the hell? And you're unfortunately this kind of bad replay timing, but whatever. Yeah, bad replay timing. What the hell is this? 5 on the same side again. And you'll kind of see here, this is a team where these guys are not on the same rhythm, which is obviously a really, really bad thing. So you'll see Sova and Cypher are pushing up here, which is fine, I guess. I feel like if you've got Phoenix Rays over, you don't all stick them in the same thing because they're trying to do the same thing with regards to entry, but okay, if you want to be slightly patient at least on the long, I can understand it. But the problem is fundamentally, you'll see here. So they put down the wall, we'll contest the wall immediately, great. Look where Cypher and Sova is, look where the other 3 are. And again, you're not going into this area to hold it, because you can't hold this independent of holding the site. You're pushing hard into here, you're going super hard into here. And these guys are back here. And obviously, it's a lot easier for these guys to run in. But you're on 2 different rhythms here. I mean, I'll show you something. Watch. Bam. Look where Sova is launching his drone from. Sova ain't launching that drone to be like, oh, we're going to go right in and we're going to take long. No, Sova is launching that because, well, we'll play it slow. We're going to have control over the area. We're going to creep up and into it, and meanwhile, Omen Race Phoenix, go, we'll go shots up. So by the time as they go onto site, Sova's still sitting back. Cypher's still sitting back far too long as well. And in the event they get trapped, they get what should happen most times when you do this. You get trapped here. And these guys are trying to come around and flank it. Maybe they know no one's been through here, so they do know it's safe. They can rotate onto it, but yeah. Omen gets 1 kill. Omen could potentially get as many kills as he wants here. Actually get the res as well, so they don't even get the numbers advantage. Yeah, 100T takes another one because that is not safe at all, that area. And they go for apartments, which, okay, fine. But you're down a man. Killjoy is on this A site, so you're not going to be able to push heavily into this A site. This is a cheap plant, you're not going to win this round, and you don't win this round. So, okay, round 9, they're all on guns again. Cool. Cypher's in that bar spots again. The other 4 going extremely hard into A. I mean, this is the thing. Cypher kind of does well with regards to he can take control of that area quite nicely without having to expend much, which is fair enough. But he ain't got to. It's still gonna be tricky for him to push straight through onto there, right? And while it's less so than there, this apartment area still, you can't just run into cubby and hold cubby. If you're going in here, it implies I'm going here. I'm going here. It's all or nothing, right? So there's events, Cypher, so slowly pushing up, and just gets murked by Killjoy. And 100T win this round extremely easily in the end. So you're obviously in such a deep hole now that you should care because of the round robin format, but whatever. And with regards to what I was saying about the econ management earlier, because they do the super stuff for the ecos, I think they would have got there if they didn't do these ridiculous ecos, but they're doing this strat again with the pistols. But you can see this is the strat, right? Cypher Sofa is on long, Ray's Omen on short, Phoenix kind of flexing a little bit. But this is the problem, so this is a little bit of a weird setup in terms of how you're putting these, because I think you want to pair it like one information, one entry, really. I think you don't want like Ray's Omen in the same place. You want like Omen over there with maybe Sova, I don't know, Cypher with Ray's. You want it more like that, right? You want to pair things up in a way that's sensible rather than just we'll have put everything into one hole and hope that we can go from there. But you can see how the disconnect happens on the fundamental level, right? Because Cypher and Sofa are very slow agents in terms of how they have to play things out. They're informational. Ray's and Omen, they don't care at all. And you're essentially putting things on the basis of we're going to push with short and we're going to let long in, but that doesn't work. That doesn't work at a high level of play, at least. So like Sova's all the way back there because he's ulting straight into there. Cypher's trying to threat through a wall of frenzy. It's a disaster. It's a disaster. So they push up, move. They actually get moved back, but they know Killjoy's been on. Like, again, all the credit in the world to steal. They know Killjoy's not on B site at this point. They know she's on A site. And while this is a nice rotation, if there's anything slowing you up on this could be a Killjoy. This could be what a lot of Sage players were on, almost entirely on A during the time when Sage was completely ubiquitous. Well, one because she could boost, but two because she could just throw things at apartments and slow things up. But unless you get straight onto site here, you're not getting you're going to get rotated because the rotation lane on binds is pretty short, to be honest. I don't think there's a huge speed advantage from here to here than there is compared to here to here, and you're just going to lose. And they lose they're losing more and more decisively at this point. Right, so round 11. I presume that the round 10 stuff was also in part just to make sure that my maker get his operator, probably. So whatever. But again, you're rushing apartments. You have an op. You have full rifles. You have Cypher ult. You have Ray's ult coming up after one kill. Why are you not just playing this out slowly? Why are you not just waiting a little bit? Just tease things out. Just wait. Just tease things out. This is just madness to go in again. And this is so easy for 100 Thieves to just stall this out, to slow it down, and when it gets onto site, screw it up. The 100 Thieves play far back, right? And we kind of know this. Like, even if you've never, I watch more EU than NA, but I know 100 Thieves play a long way back. Like, Hiko is one of the most conservative players in that regard, probably in the entire world. If you're playing a long way back, that means you're going to have very quick rotations from site to site. So these extremely lazy, we'll push up B and then we'll push up A. You're not getting any tempo advantage off of it, because they're already so far back that as soon as they realise you're moving, and they will realise you're moving very quickly, great, we just run around. You can't get control over. You can't control over apartments. You can't control over heaven. You can't even control back a site before we're there. So it doesn't work. What they're doing, it doesn't work on a fundamental. Round 12. Rifles in the last round. This is honestly the closest we probably get to like a genuine sort of good execute. So Sarth gets control over baths again. Movement agents is over on a short. Phoenix provides you an out, and this is, with the exception of that round earlier, this is either the best or second best round they play all game for Envy, which is kind of atrocious to be fair. But you'll see here what happens. You can see it. I mean, I'm not saying much because it is not an awful round all round. You're kind of still doing the bait, the kind of push up thing, cause some pressure. You do it in a way that's smarter. You quickly rotate with regards to when Cypher gets popped because you have to go B, and Cypher wasn't getting there anyway, so who cares? I would slightly question what you're doing with regards to the lineups here. I kind of don't feel like you want to let them. Like you want to do more to cut off that lane. I think probably put Omen at the back there, but whatever. This is relatively small compared to most of the other problems they've been having this game. And to bring it to a lovely conclusion, around 13 pistol. Again, it's a pistol when you're a defensive team. There's not too much scope for error here. I question not pairing B long because of the potential that you can probably get there, or they can probably get there with regards to pushing up with the Killjoy and the Sage. It's whatever. So pushed up. 100 feet push up quickly. They essentially take two guys down to nothing. They rapidly rotate through the backside teleport and just take the round, and that's GG. So a genuinely crushing loss because again, if they took 4 rounds here, if I'm understanding the rules correctly for the tournament, they would be through today because 3 teams ended on 1 win in their group, and they would have had superior round differential if they'd have done that. So this hurts. The kind of funny thing here is historically they've been Brian's maybe been their 3rd best map if you look at the stats, but the big hype coming into them from First Strike was because they destroyed that tournament, the NSG qualifier tournament, and they 3-0'd 100 Thieves in the final, and their biggest win was Bind, where they went 13-2. Now, key thing here, they went 13-2 on defense into a 100 Thieves comp that was this comp. No Sage, they had Jet instead. So, but still a more defensive comp, sure. But yeah, it does feel like it does feel like they don't really understand attack on Bind essentially, because Bind is a map where it does. I think it does reward aggression to an extent, but it rewards good execution. And it's not shocking to me that. Well, it's surprising to me that it went so poorly. But if you look at the details of how they played, like sort of the level of complexity on those strats were not high. The adaptation of strats for what we're going to do at this certain moment with this certain loadout, did not do well. But I think it's an interesting case study in kind of like what not to do on Bind essentially, and it'll be interesting to see what Envy can do going forward from here, because again, this was a surprising result. To be fair, this came in the context of other surprising results. Sentinels TSM, Sentinels 31 TSM, but they've got a lot of work to do here, and I have to wonder. It's a question of how much they can do with it, because they are. I feel like they are probably at the stage now where they're going to be pushed in ways in terms of building executes, in terms of building how they approach, particularly attacking sides of maps, in ways that it weren't done before. And they've always been a team that's been stronger on defence, which, to be fair, is true of quite a few of the top teams. But yeah, so yeah, I think it's just interesting. It's an interesting case study.